Hour 1, 6 a.m. The city outside hasn't woken up yet, but inside the Metropolitan Correctional Centre, the fluorescent lights never go off. Epstein opens his eyes in Cell 9 South, the special housing unit built for the most dangerous men in federal custody. Sleep hasn't come easy since they pulled him off suicide watch 2 weeks ago. He doesn't pace, he just sits, listening to the prison breathe around him, but today feels different. Hour 2, 7 a.m. Breakfast arrives through the slot. Epstein barely touches it. 3 weeks ago he had a cellmate, a former cop named Nicholas Tartaglione, in for murder. Tartaglione was moved out after Epstein's first incident. Now he is completely alone. For a man who spent decades surrounding himself with people, assistants, handlers, associates, that silence is its own kind of punishment. He pushes the tray back and bows his head like a man who no longer believes in anything. Hour 3, 8 a.m. Across Manhattan, his lawyers are preparing. They've been attacking the plea deal, the jurisdiction, the witnesses, but the witness list keeps growing. Women, dozens of them, names logged, stories documented. Epstein knows every name on that list. He's been thinking about them all week, not with remorse, but calculation. For 2 decades, money and fear kept them quiet. That machinery is seizing up now. Prosecutors aren't scared of him, and the women he counted on staying silent are finally, irreversibly speaking. Hour 4, 9 a.m. Guards do a routine check. Epstein nods. The slot closes. He reaches under his mattress. Just a folded piece of paper. Names, account numbers, fragments of a life built over 4 decades reduced to scribbled shorthand on a prison notepad. The names aren't just associates, they're leverage. People whose secrets live inside his memory like a vault no prosecutor has cracked yet. Information was always his real currency, but spending it requires freedom. And freedom is the one thing he no longer has. Hour 5, 10 a.m. His mind drifts to Palm Beach. Morning light through the study windows, the mahogany desk, the billions. He had taught himself that real power was invisible, never flaunted, only wielded quietly. Politicians, princes, presidents, phone numbers that could shake governments. In here, he can't make a call without supervision. Hour 1, 6 a.m. The city outside hasn't woken up yet, but inside the Metropolitan Correctional Centre, the fluorescent lights never go off. Epstein opens his eyes in Cell 9 South, the special housing unit built for the most dangerous men in federal custody. Sleep hasn't come easy since they pulled him off suicide watch 2 weeks ago. He doesn't pace, he just sits, listening to the prison breathe around him, but today feels different. Hour 2, 7 a.m. Breakfast arrives through the slot. Epstein barely touches it. 3 weeks ago he had a cellmate, a former cop named Nicholas Tartaglione, in for murder. Tartaglione was moved out after Epstein's first incident. Now he is completely alone. For a man who spent decades surrounding himself with people, assistants, handlers, associates, that silence is its own kind of punishment. He pushes the tray back and bows his head like a man who no longer believes in anything. Hour 3, 8 a.m. Across Manhattan, his lawyers are preparing. They've been attacking the plea deal, the jurisdiction, the witnesses, but the witness list keeps growing. Those who have read it describes it as neither a confession nor a farewell. The handwriting is consistent throughout. No trembling, no erratic pressure. Whatever he is writing, he writes with complete composure. That kind doesn't come from peace, but from finality. From a man who had already decided that the screen is going dark. Hour 15, 8 p.m. The prison settles into its night rhythms. Epstein lies back thinking about his brother Mark, their childhood in Brooklyn, the impossible life he built from almost nothing. He hasn't spoken to Mark in over a week. Mark had watched his brother become something mythological. He's about to watch him become something else entirely. Hour 16, 9 p.m. Lights dim after 9. The wing quiets. Epstein remains awake. The camera outside his cell is one of 2 that will later be found to have malfunctioned during the night. Investigators cannot determine whether the failure was mechanical or deliberate. The footage that should exist simply doesn't. Technicians say the equipment was old, overdue for replacement. Critics say that's too convenient. The truth settles into the same grey zone surrounding almost everything connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Hour 17. Hour 8, 1 p.m. He thinks about money, not what he has, what's already been moved. Offshore. Trust. Shell companies laid inside shell companies across jurisdictions designed not to communicate. Federal prosecutors are meticulous too, and they have time. More time than he does. The civil suits alone could strip everything bare. Without the money, without the leverage, what is Jeffrey Epstein? He had decided once before as a young man with nothing in Brooklyn that he would never be nothing again. That answer is dissolving. Hour 9, 2 p.m. An attorney visits. Brief, clipped, professional. Pre-trial motions. The attorney notes Epstein seems unnervingly calm. Not the agitated man from 2 weeks ago. Measured, settled. Epstein watches the door close behind him and doesn't ask when the next visit is scheduled, doesn't ask anything about the trial timeline. His attorney won't notice that detail until much later. The handshake at the end, firm, deliberate, won't feel like a pause. Looking back, it will feel exactly like a goodbye. Hour 10, 3 p.m. The afternoon drags. Epstein holds a book open, but his eyes don't move across the page. He's thinking about Little St. James, the island, green and blue from the air, a private world where the rules were entirely his. That world is gone, seized, catalogued, evidence tagged and bagged by people who would never have been allowed to pass the gate. He had built it in the suicide, controlled every inch of it. Now strangers walk through it in gloves, writing down what they found. Hour 11, 4 p.m. Recreation hour. Epstein doesn't go. He has the right to an outdoor hour but declines, as he has most days. The guards note it without concern. What they don't know is that his mood has shifted from anxious to resigned. There is a specific quiet that settles over a man who has made a decision. One guard will later say in a deposition she had seen that exact stillness one before, 3 days before another inmate died. Hour 12, 5 p.m. Dinner. Epstein eats slightly more than usual. One guard thinks he's stabilizing, another barely looks up. Staffing on the floor is dangerously thin. 2 guards are supposed to check his cell every 30 minutes. Tonight, one is working a 5th consecutive overtime shift. The other will fall asleep after midnight. Both will later face federal charges. Neither will serve any prison time though. The system meant to keep Jeffrey Epstein alive had been running on fumes long before he had ever arrived inside. Hour 13, 6 p.m. The evening shift cycles in. Same exhaustion, new faces. Epstein was removed from the suicide watch list weeks ago, cleared by the MCC's psychological staff. The psychologist who signed off testifies later she based the assessment largely on Epstein's self-reporting. A man who had manipulated the most powerful people on earth had no difficulty convincing a tired prison psychologist that he was fine. He answered the standard questions, smiled at the right moment. He had spent his entire life reading rooms. This was just another room. Hour 14, 7 p.m. He writes, not fragmented notes, something longer. 3 pages in careful, precise handwriting. Investigators confirm the document exists but classify portions of it. The 10:30 check doesn't happen. The guards assigned are asleep. A log entry is later falsified to show it occurred. Epstein lies still. A man who controlled rooms, who commanded silence with a look, is now just a case number running out of hours. He had sat with heads of state, being the man other powerful men called to make things disappear. Now the most powerful thing in his world is a lock on the outside of the door. Hour 18, 11 p.m. Midnight approaches. The written pages are folded and set aside. Whatever Epstein is thinking now, he keeps it entirely to himself. The ultimate irony for a man whose power depended on secrets shared in the right rooms with the right people. There are no right rooms here though. The information that mattered the most would die with him if he chose it. That perhaps is the last real power he has left. Hour 19, 12 a.m. August 10th. A new day. Though inside the MCC the distinction barely registers, Epstein hasn't slept. The blanket he requested earlier is in his hands. The precise timeline of what follows remains deeply contested. What isn't contested is that Jeffrey Epstein, the most infamous accused trafficker in modern American history, is running out of time. Outside, the city moves through another summer night. None of it reaches him. He's more isolated now than any environment he ever engineered. Hour 20, 1 a.m. Quiet. The corridor guard is at his desk, eyes closed. The camera shows nothing. Whatever is happening inside Cell 9 South is happening completely unseen. Later, conspiracy theories rush into this vacuum. Assassinations, body doubles, staged escapes. The official record offers a simple, bleaker answer. A broken system, exhaust staff, and a man left entirely alone. Books, documentaries, congressional hearings, all circling the same unanswered question. How does the most high-profile federal inmate in America die without a single witness? Hour 21, 2 a.m. The MCC night shifts move through its routine like ghosts. Somewhere in New York, his accusers sleep. The prosecutors billing the most significant trafficking case in a generation sleep soundly, unaware of what morning will bring. Inside Cell 9 South, the fluorescent light hums its unbroken note. The ventilation pushes stale air through the stale corridors. Jeffrey Epstein has not been checked on in hours. Nobody has noticed, but somebody is coming. Hour 22, 3 a.m. Even New York surrenders something to these hours. The taxi is thin, the sirens space further apart. Inside the MCC, the skeleton crew drifts through its motions. No one walks the corridor outside Cell 9 South. The falsified log will show a check completed at this hour. It wasn't. The man who built an empire on the principle that no one was ever truly watching is, in these final hours now, proving himself completely right. Hour 23, 4 a.m. Dawn is still an hour away. The world that will wake to the news has no idea it's coming. The survivors who waited years to face him in court will awake this morning and learn they never will. Some will cry, some will feel a hollow nothing. Some will spend years trying to understand what justice looks like when the man at the center of it simply ceases to exist before the reckoning arrives. Inside Cell 9 South, the light hums, the door stays locked, the silence holds. Hour 24, 6:30 am. A guard does the morning check. The doors open. Jeffrey Epstein is found unresponsive, slumped against his bunk. Emergency services are dialed. He is transported to a New York Presbyterian hospital and pronounced dead. He is 66 years old. The medical examiner rules it's suicide by hanging. 2 guards are indicted. His estate is sued by dozens of survivors. Maxwell is later convicted and sentenced to 20 years. The story doesn't end in Cell 9 South though, but the man who knew everything is gone permanently, completely, on schedule.